What? Turn it down. What is good, my people? We are live, back with another live show on the forecast. I'm coming to holler at y'all. I'm not gonna be on here too long. I got a live premiere coming up at 9:30. What's going on, my brother Pelage? So y'all can call in and talk whenever y'all want. You know what I'm saying? But I just came on to holler at y'all, let y'all know what's going on. Working, still working on the book. Hopefully, I'll have a release date soon, very very soon. So you know what I'm saying. And of course, I'm gonna keep giving y'all all the knowledge from all of that stuff whatever I learned. You know what I'm saying. So it's all good. And definitely make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. Make sure y'all stay subscribed to the or watch the live premiere coming up after this. I'll be getting back to the live videos. And I'm gonna start another live series, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna start doing something else for y'all too, you know what I'm saying? Cause I see how much people is caught up on, certain figures, the drama, all of that kind of stuff instead of actual information, knowledge, stuff to actually face reality, right? And deal with how life really is. So, I got to meet people halfway. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, Diamond? How you doing? The number is 804-601-4015. I'm going to put it in the chat. But, anyway, I ain't gonna be too long on here since that's coming on at 9:30. I'm gonna get off then, but I'm gonna just jump right in there. And I call this show Tribal Energy, right? And if you look up, put in tribal energy, right, you'll see other groups, the people who call themselves Indians, they're doing things to get themselves to be self-sufficient. You understand? Like when they're talking about tribal energy, they're talking about how to get sufficient clean energy in their environment so they can be self-sustaining. But see, we are a long way, and these are the people who call themselves Indians. And when talking about another group or whatever, but hold on, give me 1 second. All right, yeah, I'm not sure if y'all can hear me, but anyway, when they talk about tribal energy, they are talking about, getting themselves self-sufficient, having energy in their homes, doing things to get themselves on their own feet, right? But the problem is when we talk about tribal energies in our community, we're talking about a bunch of rivalries. We're talking about arguments, and all people want to do is watch those arguments, watch all of that kind of stuff play out, right? Addicted to a drama kind of lifestyle. And that's one of the things that we have to start addressing mentally. Where does this mindset come from? Where we are so addicted to toxic, negative behavior that's all we seek out. But then when somebody is trying to actually do something, we don't have the courage to really step up and stand up and do anything about it. Right? We aren't really built like that. And I understand how these things work. And that's why these channels like this get shadow banned by all of these companies. But I'm about to just start trying to do something different. I'll meet the people where they are. since people like that negative drama, that kind of energy, right? Let's start exposing who our real enemies are, right? Let's start putting out there what you really have to worry about. Who's really taking your money? Who's really scamming you, right? But we're so stuck on the divisions within ourselves, right? We can have the solution in the conversation, and then we'll go back and say, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, right? We all got, well, a lot of us have issues, right? Especially when you want to admit you wrong or to be humble amongst your brother or your sister. But all of that kind of stuff stems from a lack of self love, right? Because if you loved and respected yourself and all of that kind of stuff, then you wouldn't even have that kind of mentality, right? But instead, we will look for every excuse, and far too many of us, right, will smoke ourselves to death, drink ourselves to death, whatever. But then when we see each other in the streets, right, we got all kind of issues. Now, as a black man, you approach a black woman in the streets, then things aren't the same as they used to be, right? There's a whole bunch of trauma on top of that. Now, it's a whole bunch of obstacles that we deal with when we talk to each other. We get nasty, right, and have that kind of energy, that negative, hateful kind of energy for each other. But that's really coming out of, energy of self-hatred, because you ain't gonna turn that same energy onto the person who's really doing this stuff to you. You understand? But you know, if you don't start getting off of that tribal division stuff, people can come into your communities and do anything that they want to do to you. And like in the video that I just premiered, now we will go out there and say, stop Asian hate, black and brown, black and all of this kind of stuff. But these other communities know that you are in danger, right? It's nothing you can do to stop them, and it's nothing that they should even fear any kind of repercussions from you, right? These kind of groups, right? They will literally, and I'm not sure if you heard about the story of the young brother Kobe Daniels or whatever, but this young brother was just playing outside, and this terrorist, you know what I'm saying, murderer, this dude shot into a group of kids. This Asian dude shot into a group of kids, right, and shot this young kid or whatever. Now, all of these groups know what the deal is, but when you have a long history of, banging on each other, but you ain't gonna bang on nobody else, those tribal differences, that tribal energy is always gonna keep you separated from each other. There is no way that we can get all of this trauma out of our community if we don't deal with the trauma in our lives right now. And we're going to wonder why we keep going in cycles and circles. So many mental health problems in our community, and we take it out on each other. We see each other as a threat, the enemy. This person's trying to get you, this person's trying to get you, all while trying to fit into some kind of system that isn't yours. It's so hard to work together because we like to question each other. But the thing is, we do need to start going the extra mile to get ourselves legitimized, right? There is no one leader, right? There is a collective effort. And when you have that energy of, it's just one leader, then that means the head can get cut off the snake and that movement dies. But it's not no one person in charge thing. And that's why I'm going to start talking about, you know, the people who are really damaging our communities, right? In this new series, people want to see the receipts, people want to see the facts, people want to see all of this stuff, right? Then that's what they're going to see, right? Because it's time for us to start realizing that we don't have any choice. We are all we got. These people have no empathy. They can harm your children and no one cares. Nobody bats an eye. But the problem is, we don't even bat an eye. We just turn around and look for whatever is going to entertain us next. Right? That's how they can force feed you some BS like your culture is basketball, your culture is, singing and all of that stuff. That kind of stuff is not culture. It's up to us to define what our culture is. And a culture is something that not only helps you survive, but helps you thrive, to set up successful businesses, successful coalitions, right? And that doesn't mean, because I'm not a perfect person. Yeah, I have mistakes. I made mistakes. I'm not perfect. And there's always going to be some kind of character flaw. But until you start recognizing that, I have problems myself, we are based in a trauma society. So therefore, you are going to attract and seek out other people who are damaged, who will look to take advantage of you, because that's how it works. And I know, like YouTube, they don't give you really they don't give you um certain channels. I keep getting phone calls, my bad. But you have to study how other groups work as a team, right? We always got to question each other. Got us, I don't trust, this person, when you are dealing with a group of people who have lied to you about everything, right? But we do have to rebuild that culture, because until you get the family unit right, until we can interact as men and women on a civil level, right, and uh, p- solve whatever issues that we have, and the issues that we can't solve, put to the side. If we can't start doing that, we don't have a chance for our children to learn how to adjust. Because a lot of people say, we don't have enough hope, you're never going to save everybody, right? A friend of mine, was telling me about how, they was thinking about the schools or whatever, and the kids is in school wearing masks and all of this kind of stuff. Now the thing is, they don't even know any different. They think this is the way life is. And that's how easy generational curses can be broken. But on the same token, that's how easy generational curses can get created and passed down from generation to generation. Because That's just how it works. And you see what other groups, like you take the Jewish community, right? You can control the narrative, right? You can shadow ban whoever you don't like speaking on. It could be the truth and all of that. Like I can break down how throughout history, the Jewish population, the European Jews have been kicked out of places. They was kicked out of, you know, uh, somewhere in Europe a long time ago. Ended up with the Dutch. Got involved with the slave trading through the Dutch, right? They were prospering. They were the ones to create slaves on credit, right? They were the ones who were financing, not all of it, a lot of the slave trade. Everybody was competing with everybody, and they were right there involved. Now, I can say all of this, and it doesn't even matter because, if Nick Cannon was to say something like that, he would have to literally go on an apology tour, lose a show that he created, right? And you can't say anything about it because their community sticks together, right? At the end of the day, I don't know what they are, but we are a group that can control our own destiny the moment that we get together and do that. But we can't do that because we're always going to find some kind of reason. And I tell you what, it doesn't matter exactly where you come from. It doesn't matter exactly your culture. You can create your own culture right now. But after the casual killing act was passed, all of that applied to all of us. But that's the mindset that we're coming from. And by the way, y'all can call in. I'm just kind of I ain't really have a show prepared. You know, I'm uploading this thing. Like I said, I've been working on the book, but I do understand that on issues there are going to be people who go this way and go that way, and it don't matter about the facts. But somehow you have to learn how to get that kind of energy into your own mind, right? To say that we are a group that need to be self-sufficient, right? We should be talking and having discussions about how we can have more clean energy at a less price, at a like in a way that it won't cost as much. But we can't even have conversations on meeting together to do anything. And see, there has been no other group, especially in American history, where it's been illegal for three or more, two or more people to gather together in the name of uprising, because that was America's number one goal, to stop that mentality. We are coming from a culture of where people, our ancestors, our parents, our elders told us, keep your eyes to the ground and maybe you will survive. And most times it didn't even work for them. And so now we are split into the community, into divisions of vote or die, right? We got to get good old Joe Biden in office because you know what? The lesser of two evils. But you see, there is no lesser of two evils. There is just evil. Good old Joe, at this point, he's just doing stuff in your face to see what you would say, just antagonize you, right? He was just in the news calling a black person boy. But he was also in the news saying you ain't black if you don't vote for him. And you are letting yourself get caught up in other people's issues, right? They are putting kids in cages at the border or whatever, right? That's so sad. right? They've been putting our kids in cages since the beginning, and people think it's over or whatever, right? Your warrior class, most of them is locked up in prison right now. And all of that, if you come with a different direction, a different mindset, a different energy, you would foster a new kind of environment. But right now, far too often, we can't talk without agreeing to disagree. And that's why, I appreciate my people. We can talk, disagree, and then at the end of the day, we agree to disagree and move on. But see, you only save that kind of hate, that kind of energy for your own. But where does that mindset come from? Who is teaching you that you need to hate yourself? Why are we failing the black doll test? Because that's all we're really doing to right now. You don't know that your DNA is different, and you don't know that you living in a time right now where the people may kick in your door and force you to take a shot. You don't feel like that's even enough to put aside your tribal differences? Well, I mean, I guess not if they could be able to castrate us, to be able to hang us, and be able to financially strangle us, be able to physically strangle us, mentally strangle us, and we still aren't doing anything about it. I guess this ain't enough for you to take action either. I guess it won't really mean anything until it hits home. But guess what? It already hit home for you, right? You are already in another place where you don't know your original language, right? You argue about where you come from. They've already taken everything. You don't have anything to lose. And see, if we don't start addressing the mental health and our conditions, it's going to be impossible for us to get along. And see, we got to understand it's not even hard. We have been there. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff is relatively new. But far too often, right? That's a part of it. We have been to be emancipated. You got to accept the ways of the Englishman. But little do you know, you can never be accepted as an Englishman because white superiority is defined by black inferiority. But see, when you accept the ways of the white man, or accept the ways of the Englishman, and you're emancipated, right? You're going to look at each other through a European lens. And then we wonder why when we see each other in public, we give each other the stink eye, right? Why we won't smile at each other, but we can't make excuses. As a man, I would have to take responsibility because if I was to let somebody bust in my house and do something to my kid, do you think my wife would gain respect for me or lose respect for me? And there are things on both sides that we have to address, but that starts with yourself. And anybody leading you outside of yourself, anybody leading you outside of yourself is a problem. When somebody is getting you to lose trust in yourself and get put all of your trust in them, right? You got to start looking at that as a red flag. Because the truth is, nobody can curse you but you. You are the only one that can speak that into existence. And they can feed you whatever they want to feed you. They will give you the shot under the guise of safety, right? These are the people who's determining what's safe, the very people who are destroying the atmosphere, destroying, literally killing the earth. And they are the people who can tell you that, right? They will sacrifice their own in a heartbeat. They took a kid away from a white lady, you know what I'm saying? Because she didn't get the shot. They are not going to hire. Your job is going to come to you and say, you cannot work here any longer if you do not get this shot. But we have so much tribal issues. We haven't put ourselves in a position where we can, feed each other, because nobody can give somebody advice if you ain't feeding them. If you don't have some kind of place for them to come to for safety, right? I can say, don't go to the police, don't do this, don't do that. But if I'm not providing you with something in exchange for that, or to put in the place of that, then it's only so much that I could say. But the issue is, not one person can do that. That takes the collective effort. But you don't even love your own children enough not to save them from getting thrown in the oven. To accept. Yo, hello.
Hey, what's up, my brother? Focus. How are you, my brother?
What's going on, my brother? How you doing, man?
Not much, man. I decided, my son is sleeping. I said, you know what? I'm gonna call him because, he's sleeping, but I'm not. I'm just gonna speak truth. So if he'll just have to learn this truth as he sleeps. So, man, how's everything going for you?
Oh man, everything good, man. Everything good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I heard you writing a book, man. You just, when it's done, man, I'm gonna buy a copy.
Oh yeah, okay? Yeah. I appreciate it. It's like all the stuff I talked about. Like I went year by year.
Oh yeah.
Like.
Yeah. So let me tell you something. Hypothetically speaking, if I had like millions of dollars, you would be one of those people I build a nation with. And I think people need to like a while back, I know people hating on Tariq. Tariq is, he's really petty. I like Tariq. I like Umar. You know, I don't think they hate each other, but I just think some of this pettiness we have to get we need to let those aside. And I really like your topic of discussion, Focus. I really like your message. I really like. I mean, it's the same thing, but but different things. But I need to hear it. And when you do your premieres, I love them. So, guys, if I had money, man, I would donate to you every month. But what you saying though, obviously, us being cursed, it's it's not true. But like, no, I agree with you. What I'm just saying though, if you talking about people wearing masks because that's what the kids will see. That's normal. You know what I'm saying though? If we don't change our patterns, it's just we're gonna get we're gonna be stuck doing the same thing repetitively. I'm gonna tell you, I deal with a lot of white people and stuff like that. When I came in from Haiti, I grew up So, anyways, I was thinking about this. Me coming from Haiti is a different struggle from a Black American. And it was in 2014, my eyes started opening up, and so that wait a second, like if the truth matters to me, facts is facts to me, and I will tell you, man. I know I'm going all over the place, and I apologize, and I think you've already gotten used to me by now. But it's just we got to do better as people. And I was talking to this dude last night. He's like, hey, so I watch a little bit of college football. I used to be insane about it. As I get older, I don't really care about it as much. But I still, I'm a closet fan. I still watch it, But we were talking about this, and then, this guy asked, he said, like, hey, have you get your vaccine yet? And I said, like, no. And he was like saying, why not? And just really like one of those progressive guys, like liberal, what have you. And I said, listen, you white, I'm black. Okay, so yeah, I understand. I'll never understand what it's like to be white. I said that to him, but he said, I never understand. I'll never understand what it's like to be black. And I throw in the Tuskegee, syphilis experiment. And he said, yeah, I understand. And then da-da-da-da-da. And he said, well, I took this shot. Do you think there's a white shot and a black shot? And it started being very stupid, argument. And I said, I'm not taking the shot. I said, I don't care how much money you gave me. I'm not doing it because it's just, why don't you ask for reparation for us first, and then I'll think about it, But two things. I think in Hidden, History Museum that Cherokee is doing, I think it's a good thing for all of us, and, honoring Dr. Franz Welsling, Dr. Henry Clark, and Dr. Checo Diab, and I think it's a great thing. We are envy and jealous at each other, but again, if we can, like you talk about, the Jews and stuff like that, if we can come together and put our pettiness aside, I think we'll be unstoppable, man. Look at us when we play football. Look at us when we play basketball. Look at us when we run track. Look at us when we do anything, And then that's just that, man. And at the end of the day, just like Harriet Tubman said, I would have freed many more if they knew they were slaves. I think, unfortunately, a lot of us are not gonna make it, and we have to want to be independent. There's many places we have to think strategic. We have to think about okay, is it Brazil? Is it the Netherlands? Is it some places in the Caribbean? I don't know. Is it whatever? Because the whole world belongs to us, the melanated people. I'm not lying. So I just, like I said, my brother. Again, I hope that you keep putting those videos out, and I hope that I can continue to try to contribute, in some way, shape or form, monetarily, sometimes once in a while. Times are hard, and I don't want you to give up, man. And thank you so much, and and just keep bringing the energy, my brother. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, my brother.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm going to be listening to you. All right.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I appreciate that. And and that's the thing, and it's not necessarily given to me or anybody in particular. And that's the whole purpose of coming up with coalitions, coming up with groups, coming up with think tanks. You have to come together with a group of people with a specific goal in mind, and you all contribute to that together. But all of that kind of stuff is not going to happen with the kind of mindset, the kind of trauma, the kind of energy that we have in our community, right? All of that kind of stuff where we look at each other with the side eye. We're never going to come together for our communities, but you can let other people come in and do whatever, you know what I'm saying? But as people, we have to be cool with our friends, you know what I'm saying? We have to accept, you know, who we are, you know what I'm saying? We look at each other for our differences, but we have way more stuff in common, and we have to start putting our issues to the side, right? And of course we're always going to try to expose, each other. And, that's why I'm probably going to start a new series where people want to see the exposing. And I don't even like to use my focus or doing this kind of thing against people in general or specifically, you know what I'm saying? But it's certain companies, certain, all of this kind of stuff. Like, a lot of people don't know American Citibank was the people who helped finance that the money that Haiti had to pay France, right? All of these banks got their start. All of these institutions, all of these schools got their start, right? If we're gonna question, a black doctor or a black dentist, even if they have an office, you know what I'm saying? I found a black doctor, found a black dentist, and like I said, I need to go to the doctor a lot more. But we gonna question each other's credentials or whatever. But you know, until we start coming together where we take actual, professional, top of the line doctors, top of the line scientists, top of the line people, and having them put together institutes to teach other black people, right? Then you can say they come from a black institute, right? Or people won't listen to you because your information comes from here or there or whatever. But until you put whatever differences that you have aside to create these institutes where you put the people who are at the top, like somebody like Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson, you put them at the top to create the institutions. But we're always going to question each other. But all of that comes from generational curses, right? Because a black person with money will be like, oh, I'm not leaving my kid anything. My kid got to learn how to do it on their own. And far too often, our parents and all of this stuff aren't in positions to pass us down nothing but debt and trauma, right? And that's passing down generational trauma versus generational wealth, right? We aren't getting houses and land. We're getting a $10,000 funeral bill that we got to figure out how to pay for, right? But we don't deal with the issues that's within our home, and then we wonder why as a community we can't vet people. We are surprised when they do something against us, right? But how could you ever do that if you don't have a positive role model? And it always goes back to how it is, because all you ever seen is yourself portrayed as a killer, a thug, you know a pimp, you know a prostitute, a whore. That's all you've ever seen yourself. And the people who have been here for your liberation have been tarnished throughout history. Not only killed, but they've been removed from history. And all of that is done on purpose. There are so many people like David Walker, right? All of these people were having discussions about if in the 1700s, 1800s, if black people should leave America and go to Africa, if black people should do whatever. Because there was a time in America, like we always hear about, there was slavery in the South and the North wasn't any slavery. That's a bunch of BS. Right before they was trying to run north, they was running south to Florida. And it was good old Andrew Jackson, right? They talk about the Trail of Tears, right? And speaking of tribal energies, they talk about the Trail of Tears, but they don't talk about the slave trails of tears, where the Asiatic Indians were forced to march out. But guess who was forced to march thousands of miles to replace that population to be slaves? Men, women, and children were put in chains and marched miles down south. Well, we don't know about our own history, but we know about everybody else's history. But you see all these other groups learn how to put aside whatever issues they have, but we have got to learn how to come up with a way to have this Berlin conference. Because I'll tell you what, uh European is not gonna be like, I'm French, yo. I don't really mess with the British, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna side with this Negro. No, they're gonna say Europe. And if they're from another continent, they're gonna say white. But you are gonna say, I can't side with you because you don't do it like this. I'm not a friend of you like that. But the system of slavery is designed and meant to be perpetual, right? But we definitely have to have a conference, but it's just that simple. It's not an overnight thing, but you start with the children before you, right? In a generation, right? After you had the 60s, you were the most married in a couple of generations, 1 or 2 generations. You had a whole mindset, a different mindset, because children were taught different, especially in schools. Right now you have a whole different mindset of like the LGBT community or whatever, but you can't dare speak out on them, and they're going to use that as a way to project what they do onto you, to say everybody's like that. Well, everybody's not making laws to disparage the next person. But see, they're not going to mention how a lot of those slave owners were gay and raping men and molesting little boys. They're not going to talk about that part, right? They're not going to talk about all of the crimes that happen in their communities. Only you can talk about that part, but you can find another veil or way to separate yourself. Because in a society where nobody and nothing is designed to care about you, right? We don't respect our DNA. We quickly give up our DNA for what somebody else taught us or said. But you know what the issue is? We haven't taken the time to create a medical institute, right? A medical organization of top black doctors that we vote on, right? We haven't taken the time to put together a team of mental health experts to help us through the trauma that people, for whoever may need it. We haven't taken the time to support the black farmers who are being sued for money they never even got. But we will take the time to argue with each other about this, about that, and sit there and watch it, because you need to be entertained is easier than dealing with the reality and the truth of it. You have to start doing something, changing the mindset within yourself, and say, for my children, I'm not going to leave them in the hole. I'm not going to leave them in debt. I'm going to leave them property. I'm not going to charge them for something. I'm going to help them get to the next stage of life, because that's how it goes. One generation is supposed to do better than the next. We stand on our ancestors' shoulders, but we forget about our ancestors. We let them teach us trash about our ancestors, and they teach us trash about their ancestors. A lot of us don't know the truth about people like Ida B. Wells, and how militant she was, and how she said every black family should stand up. They call her a feminist to give her the impression where she was siding with white women or whatever. But she stood up for black men. She started her career, her publishing, standing up for a black man, right? Standing up for black women, right? She was Rosa Parks before Rosa Parks. She had a first class ticket on the train. They tried to get her to get off of the train, and she stood there, refused, and she sued them, and she was the first person to win a lawsuit. right? She went around breaking down the lynch law, how they knew white women was lying, but the problem was black people were economically doing well because they didn't have the illusion of inclusion. And that's the only thing stopping you from doing economically well is the illusion of inclusion. And they didn't have that illusion of inclusion. They recycled the dollars in their community. And you know what happened? Those poor whites who could not compete with them for jobs, they got jealous. Like, how does this nigga have a piano in his house and I don't? That can't happen. And they use these excuses to run up. Right? The lynch law was about economically starving the black community. And that's why if anybody is telling you that you are racist for recycling the dollars in your community, supporting black businesses, or only hiring black people, tell them to see Plessy versus Ferguson, right? But the only difference is you have to protect that. But as a community, as men and women, until we are in control of our minds and controlling our children's minds and what they see and what they hear and what they do, right? Then some outside force is going to influence that. And as long as we saying, oh, I'm gonna make my kid do this and make my kid do that, right? Other groups is teaching their children how to be financially independent, not work a job. The school that you fought for. What's going on, brother Bakari? Um, you can call in real quick. I would say come on here, but I'm about to get off at 9:30. Um, you know, I got a live premiere about to come on here at 9:30. That's why I was rushing earlier. And Piece of Blue, you can call in too real quick. But that's why I was rushing all day. So um, again, yeah, I got the live premiere coming up in about 10 minutes. But like I said, I was just working on the book all day. But the education system we fought to be a part of, it is there to teach you. All right, yeah, it's all good, my brother. The system of education we fought to get into is there to teach you how to be a worker for the corporation of America. Right? The private schools that they send their children to, especially once you start going to their schools, they teach them how to be CEOs, entrepreneurs, independent. Right? We can't sit there and have a conversation about stock. I mean, now more so than ever we can, right? We're starting to get that knowledge back, but we can't have the kind of financial discussions that we need to have with each other. Nor do we have the institutions to have those kind of discussions, like about stocks and stuff like that. But until we do put aside those differences, our tribal differences, and get on code and realize that we are all we got, then the same thing will keep happening over and over and over. And you see other groups like the Taliban, right? And it's not up to us to say, oh, it's none of our business, right? I'm not here to take up for some Arabs, you know what I'm saying? Right? They have their own history. But this quote unquote terrorist group, you would be that terrorist group if you were to ever take over your nation. People who oppose somebody coming into your land and changing the laws. That's defined as a terrorist to them. But you see, they fought a war against the government, and after 20 years, they did not stop until they got what they wanted to get, which is their own country, their own freedom, their own civilization, make their own rules, right? And now all these governments is backing them up for their own financial reasons. But this group was outmanned, outgunned. But the thing about, you know, freedom and wanting to be free, you do what you have to do. And a government cannot stand if people do not agree with that government. Right? And as soon as they start attacking the first city, then the second city, and people see they weren't going to get protected, that government collapsed. More soldiers stopped fighting. Because a war is one step at a time. But first you have to even realize that you are in that war. First you have to realize slavery is perpetual. First, you have to realize there is no lesser of two evils. You have to realize there is no right and wrong. It's about winning. They don't care about right and wrong. If they did, they wouldn't have done what they have done. You have to care about getting out of the position more than they care about maintaining their position. You have to respond with more urgency than they do. Because that's the mindset that you have to be free. David Walker made the appeal to the colored people around the world in the 1830s, and his family and friends told him to run and get out of town. He refused, and later he was found dead. Right now, they believe he was poisoned, but they tried to say, he died from tuberculosis or some whatever. Well, I know within a year he was dead for him speaking his mind. And see, when you had knowledge, your knowledge was restricted. Your knowledge was illegal because you studied nature. You knew how to poison them. You knew how to use plants, right? You knew how to mix chemicals, use nature to your advantage. And they literally made learning about plants illegal. They literally made growing your own food illegal. And now we are hundreds of years later, and our parents are dying from diabetes, high blood pressure, all of that kind of stuff because we aren't in control of any of that stuff. But at the end of the day, all of it starts with the mindset and yourself, taking accountability, all of that kind of stuff for yourself. But yeah, man, I appreciate all of y'all for watching, man. The live premiere about to come up in a few minutes, so make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Keep your eyes open for the new you know series I'm about to do, and me and my homegirl Blue. Hopefully we have like something coming up soon to where the people could come. We'll have like a think tank, have like an event or some kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So all of that stuff is coming up soon, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24 because the new videos will be back on there. And I wanted to leave a new video today, but like I said, I've been trying to finish up what I was doing. So, man, I appreciate all of y'all for listening. I appreciate you, my brother Pelej, brother Bakari, Diamond Blue. But as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.